I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
How can I work with the tension in me that seeks perfection or is perfectionist?
There's perfection, which is God, spirit, higher energy, unattainable perfection on the part of a human being, but a perfection worth striving for because the closer you get to it, the more enlightened you're going to be. In order to attain that kind of enlightenment, that kind of inner growth, you have to let go of anything inside your ego that thinks that you have to be perfect in this world, that you can't make a mistake, and that you have to live in some kind of delusional state, where you think that no matter what you do in life, your ego demands perfection. You have to be the best. And the whole lack of humility, the lack of depth, the lack of, true nothingness inside us keeps us from truly ever growing. So there are two perfections. One of them is a perfection, that nobody can attain because it really is God, it's higher energy, it's the totality of the universe, it's everything that exists. And who has a mind or a capacity to understand everything that exists? But that perfection is essential. And as you strive for it and grow and try to get closer to a connection with higher energy in the universe, you understand that need to be one with God just does one thing. It really demands that you grow consciously inside yourself. And then you realize you don't have to be perfect. Understand, your life just has to be a living expression of higher energy flowing through you. And the day you arrive at that conclusion that you don't have to be perfect, or you can never be perfect, because that perfection, that we often delude ourselves with is just some crazy image in the human mind that thinks that we are better than everybody else. And we're not. Everybody's born, they live their karma, and they die, So there has to be humility, and humility comes when we realize the impossibility of perfection, but the need to grow closer to it, because it brings with that need higher consciousness, openness to God, to spirit, to developing ourselves as human beings, and to live on a better level in this world. And to just the acceptance of the fact that we don't have to be perfect. We just have to live here as children of God, with humility, with gratitude, with love, with compassion, simplicity, kindness. And that thing inside us that has to do everything better than everybody else, it's just madness. It only goes one place. It goes to the grave. It drives people crazy because all it does is create more and more tension in a human being. And the antidote to that is just humility. Having a state of humility in oneself. And not having to be better than everybody else, but having to recognize that everybody in this world, whoever they are, from the bum and the bag person on the street, to the CEOs and the presidents and whoever they are, they're just our teacher. And they're teaching us something important about what we need to learn about living. And just that realization allows us to become children of God, where everything is our teacher. We bow down to everything. And I mean, I've been watching a lot of Japanese movies lately, and on Max, they have all these Japanese movies. And in every movie, people must bow to each other 3,000 times. I mean, it's incredible, you know, part of their culture. Even people they hate, they bow to. Whether they understand consciously the meaning of that bow, that's another question. But the fact is, you bow and learn from everybody, everything. People you don't like, people you think are idiots and ignorant, you learn from them. I mean, I remember once sitting in Rudy's store and this beggar woman walked in. And he was so kind to her and nice to her. And I was watching that. It was a great lesson for me. And he said to me when he came back to his desk, he said, Stuart, you never know, how God manifests in your life any moment during the day. You never know. I mean, in its own strange way, that's perfection. So just remember that. You never know how God is teaching you and what manifests moment to moment in your life. That's your teacher. That is telling you what you need to do in your life to grow. I hope that's clear, because this whole thing about people having to be perfect, I mean, it's just madness. It's madness. It's all ego. It's all kind of habitual learning from when they were early kids, going to school, demanding perfection out of children. And, children, well, anyway. And then we sit in judgment of everybody else. We play the role of God on earth, we sit in judgment of everybody. We dislike who they are, what they are, you don't like the way they dress, the way they look, the way, it's all bullshit. What can you learn? How can you say thank you to somebody you don't like? Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? It's a very big person to say thank you to people you don't like. People that do things that annoy you, to get over yourself and to understand that there's something important to learn from that. And we can be grateful. Doesn't mean we have to hang out with those people, spend a lot of time with them. Just means we have to learn whatever they're there to teach us. I remember years ago, I had a situation when I lived in Texas, and anyway, I won't get into it, but it was very strange. It had to do with buying Tonkas with somebody, partnership. And when the time came to, get the Tonkas, I was given the 3 worst Tonkas in the deal. That was my share. So I had 2 students that went in to get what and they saw what the person gave me, they said, well, how could you do this? You know, Stuart's your teacher, he's this, he's that. Stuart's not my teacher, he's my friend. So I remember they came back and told me that. And my response to that is, you know, God sends me my students. You know, no matter what they are, I accept them, I embrace them, I try to learn from them, I try to teach them. My friends, I choose very carefully. I can't say yes or no when people come and they want a spiritual life. Doesn't matter what their background is, where they came from, where they live, you know, who they are, what they could be murderers and criminals. And I've had murderers in my classes when I taught in prisons, you know, not for me to judge them. It's for me to nurture them, help them grow, help them transform themselves. Friendship is another story. You got to be very careful. The people that you have as friends, because generally at some point they almost always turn on you, you know? And Rudy told me that. He said, you don't serve people, you serve God. You never know what people are going to do in 10 minutes. Serve God. It's constant, it's permanent, it's nurturing, it makes you grow, and it makes you accept everything that people do, all the craziness they do, as a way of learning about yourself and how you can grow. Does anyone else have a question? I hope this is clear, because it's not only just Isabel, it's all of us, you know? We're here to learn these things. We're here to change inside ourselves. We're here to stop yakking with opinions about what's right or wrong and say, what do I have to learn here? What is it teaching me? Do I really know better? I mean, I remember Rudy once said, he was talking about the same kind of subject. And he said, you know, you see some woman smacking her kid, you know, on the street, and you get all upset at the woman. You know, who knows? That kid might have peed on her leg 10 minutes before. You don't know what happened. And it's impossible to really judge, because you don't really know what goes on in life. So we can't judge based on our past experience. We have to truly just let life teach us acceptance of what goes on in the world.
Stuart, at the end of it's me.
That's Marcia.
At the end of his book, Rudy is talks about two states, about purity and growing. It's the same that are against each other.
Well, that's
It's
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's exactly what I'm talking about. You know, look, in my life, I've never met a pure person. Never. Understand? And to me, the two most dangerous things in the world are purity and promiscuity. You know, one of them, you know, is an impossible, and the second one, promiscuity, it just does nothing but make everything cheap. You know, so when Rudy was talking about purity, he means refining oneself, growing inside, never accepting any level as a totally pure level, but understanding that only God is total purity. And all we can do as people is keep refining ourselves and getting closer and closer to that state. And that is basically what we're on the earth to learn: how to spend our time growing inside ourselves, advancing our consciousness, developing a connection with spirit, getting out of the way. And never for a moment thinking that we're going to be living as totally pure people. It's impossible. There's always going to be something wrong in every human being. And there's nothing wrong with that, because the things that are wrong inside us are the things that always make us grow. The things we have to overcome in ourselves always make us grow. So it's part of the mix. It's one of the ingredients in the spiritual soup, having things wrong with you. Instead of complaining about them, just use them to grow. And try to get closer and closer to that state of purity, that untouchable state of absolute truth. And use it as a goal. And get closer and closer to it step by step. So there's more room inside one for higher energy in the universe, consciousness to exist. And because we find things wrong with ourselves, don't get upset. It's just another ingredient in the soup, a necessary ingredient. I mean, it's like Rudy's metaphor about the oyster and the pearl. You know, you need an irritation to create the pearl. We need irritations to create higher consciousness in ourselves, a spiritual life. And it takes a burden off of people, you know. Just living that way creates a lightness of being. You're not spending 97% of your time in your head analyzing the world and driving yourself crazy. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, there'll be meditation class on Sunday. Thank you. God bless you all. And again, everyone needs a guru, you know. I'm sitting here in front of my guru, all of you. Your presence, the questions you ask, your need to grow, does nothing but make me a more humble person, you know, willing to get past the impurities of myself to help people in their lives and to help me in my life, you know. It's the way we help each other, and it's wonderful. So thank you. Bless you all. There will be class on Sunday. Once again, there's a retreat coming up next month. If you're interested in attending, you know, there's still spaces available. And I mean, I got an email today from somebody who was at the last retreat, brought tears to my eyes. So beautiful what this person was talking about. So if you want to come, you're welcome. God bless you all. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Sunday.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good
Thank
night.
you. Good night.
Night.